Someone has already done and is already doing what you want to do. And no, they didn't fall into a rich family to do so. They were not born lucky. You know you can be more. You can have more, do more, and be more. You know this. You wouldn't be listening otherwise.
Hey, you guys, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Millennial Market Talk. I am your host, Mark Jones, and this is the podcast where we empower and inspire. We don't entitle here. Today, I am joined by a longtime friend. I mean, we go back till we were, little kids.
Elementary school.
Elementary, yes. Eric Noble. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing fantastic, thanks.
So, Eric, before we get into who you are, what you do, where you come from, all that good stuff, I wanted to play our normal trivia, millennial trivia, that is, and it is based on my criterion. We're going to go over 10 questions, and we'll see how millennial you are at the end.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, you ready? All right, so first question. What is the rarest M&M color?
Oh, blue.
Okay, that's incorrect. The most rarest color is actually brown.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Number 2, who was the duo that performed at the halftime Super Bowl 38 that became a controversial indecent exposure?
The Janet Jackson and Timberlake?
Boom! Yeah. Nailed it. That's exactly right. Let's see here. Number 3, what was the first Beavis and Butthead movie?
Do America?
Boom! Killed it. That's exactly right. Let's see here. What is the dog's name in Family Guy?
Stewie. No, wait. That's the baby. Brian.
Okay, good deal. I'm like, let me give him a moment to recoup and gather.
Brian.
Okay. Number 5. What does WWW stand for?
World Wide Web?
You nailed it, yes. I had to actually think about it when I was doing these questions. I'm like, WW. Okay, don't overthink it, Mark.
Yep, easier.
Yeah. All right, number 6, and you've only missed one at this point, by the way. Super millennial. Vote for Pedro. What movie was this coined?
Okay. I know this one.
We got the shirts.
Yes. The tall guy with curly hair. I know it.
His head was hot, so he shaved it all off.
Oh my goodness.
The main character actually had a twin.
I cannot think of the name right now.
Napoleon Dynamite.
That's it, yep.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yep.
Best dance scene ever.
I
Monologue dancing.
I actually haven't watched that movie yet.
No way.
No, I haven't seen it.
No way. Okay, tonight when you get home, honey, we're watching probably one of the most stupidest funny movies out there.
I think she's wanted to, but didn't appeal to me yet.
Good deal. So here we go. Number 7. Finish this song by TLC. Don't go chasing.
Waterfalls?
There you go. Finish the rest.
Oh,
Let's
I
see.
know the rest. Okay.
Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to.
Okay, yep.
Okay, number 8. According to the movie Elf, this is a tough one. According to the movie Elf, what are the 4 main food groups?
Oh, that's the sugar, candy corn.
That's one.
Candy cane.
Got it.
And syrup or something. I don't.
Yes. There's one more, and you've said it twice. It's just it by itself.
The sugar.
I'm going to give you a partial correct.
Good enough.
Candy corn, candy canes, syrup.
Syrup. Oh, yep.
Kind of like dodgeball. All right, here we go. 2 more left, okay?
Okay.
This one's a little tough too. I got this right away, but it's what I watched back in the day, Nickelodeon show, okay? Who loves orange soda?
I was not a Nickelodeon fan. Orange. I have no idea. Not a clue.
So it was from All That, and it was Kel.
Gotcha.
Kel loves orange soda. Yes, I do.
That does the Good Burger stuff, but I don't know.
I was going to go with Good Burger, but I think I asked a Good Burger question before.
Okay.
Okay, so the 10th and final question, and you've missed 3 thus far. No, wait.
2, because you gave me partial.
Yep, you've missed 2. So let's see how you do on this one. This is a broad, so if I'll give you a range, all right? What percentage of millennials identify as entrepreneurs? And I think everyone will be thoroughly surprised at the answer to this.
60.
You nailed it.
That's what's up.
You nailed it. It is 60%.
There you go.
60% of millennials identify as entrepreneurs.
I knew that.
Do you know why that is? I'm wondering. I mean, what do you think?
They're more open to try something new,
Okay.
start something themselves.
What comes to mind for me is it's easier than ever to start a business, not necessarily start a business, but get a product out there in a broader market with the use of social media and all the tech and things that are happening so fast. I have to believe that that is the case. I didn't dig deeper into what type of entrepreneurship and whatnot, but entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. We're shakers and movers. Is what we do.
Exactly.
As we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
So everybody, thanks for tuning in. Eric is officially 80% millennial. Boom. But Eric joins us, and he is a police officer. And for 15 years now, in addition to an entrepreneur who owns a landscaping company.
Correct.
The landscaping company's name is Noble Landscape Services. Perfect. So how did you, let's start with you. Eric, who are you? Tell us about you. Where did you come from? Where are you going? What's the deal?
We could start from the beginning. I was born in Illinois. Parents were military. So born in Illinois, I only spent 3 months there, and then moved to Texas, San Antonio to be exact, and grew up here till I was 5 years old. Went to Germany for 3 years, military reasons.
Okay.
Came back when I was 8 and been here ever since.
So you lived in Germany for a little while. I mean, do you remember anything in Germany?
You remember a train ride? I remember Paris. We went to Paris.
Okay.
I got to see the Eiffel Tower in Holland and the windmills, and there was a theme park there. Made for it's basically like Fiesta Texas, but with Smurfs.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome.
So it was Smurf everything. It was fantastic.
That's cool.
I'm not sure if it's still there, but it was when I went.
That is very cool. So moving forward, as you moved here, you went, and obviously we went to school together, but going through school after we graduated both in 2004, what did you do? Where'd you go?
That one I went to UTSA on a Air Force ROTC scholarship.
Okay.
And so that one, it ended up not working out in my favor about 2 years in.
Okay.
And from there, I had to do something. So that's when I started at the sheriff's office, and I worked at the jail.
Okay. Well, let's stop there for a second.
Okay.
What didn't work out with the college? And I like hearing about these stories because I myself did not finish college. I don't knock anybody that has. I do advocate for those that are going through college to actually specialize in something versus going general. But what happened?
Now that I look back at it,
Sure.
it's all my fault for sure. But
Ownership.
yeah, my parents they raised me up to where they'd get me what I need. I got to get what I want. So I had to work, and my schedule during college, which sounds rough when you're 18.
Sure.
But I'd have to wake up about 4:30, and ROTC had their physical training, their PT was at like 5:45. So I'd get there. Parking was good. That was nice to get good parking.
Yeah.
5:30 in the morning, and then the PT was from 5:45 till about 7. And then it was time for school. So then we go to school, and as a freshman and sophomore, you never get the hours you want, the early morning classes, whatever. So I'd end up going to school from 8 and then 11 and then 1 and then 2 were my classes. So I couldn't leave, couldn't do anything. And because of working or going to school all day, and I wanted to have nice things, I would go to work when I got off at 4 until about 9 or 10 and repeat.
Gotcha.
And so over the course of 2 years, I think I got tired of it, I guess.
More on
I
you.
was exhausted, yeah. And ended up not doing as I should have been. And I think my GPA, I did.
I'm right there with
the
you.
GPA
I'm
went
right
down
there
a
with you.
hair lower than it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And that made things change.
I will tell you, I was not the greatest student. I did what I needed to do to get by at the time, all the while using my time for other things, which I had discovered money and how to make it and what it can do and change and all that good stuff. So I think that's my focus shifted, and I have to believe that yours kind of did the same thing of doing both. And it's, what am I doing here? I could just be going.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting to hear others' perspective on that. So jumping into law enforcement or at the jail, what was the decision process on that?
With the scholarship that I was on, I wanted to do military police anyway. That was already in my thought process. And at 19 years old, I wasn't old enough to join any police forces yet. And this was pretty much the next best thing. So I figured if I give it a shot, had no issues getting on, and did my 2 years there. And that's about when I went to work as police and actually on the street.
Okay. And why law enforcement? Was there any driver behind it? Anything that had happened in the past that decided, okay, this is what I want to do? Or was it, I'm getting into it, and then you kind of had a passion for it, and then you get what I mean by that?
And growing up, they had a lot of, I watched a lot of TV with the cop shows.
Sure.
And video games had them and everything. And my parents looked up to them a lot.
Okay.
And that kind of made me look up to them a lot. And so I kind of wanted to also be what my parents would look up to as well.
That makes perfect sense. No, absolutely. And I know that we were raised very similarly. I mean, we grew up right down the street, very similar household. My father was military. I mean, it makes sense as far as wanting to not necessarily appease your parents, but be respected and know that you're actually doing something versus what their take on what we were supposed to be doing was graduate from college, go get a good job, make blah, 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 blah.
I want them to be proud of me.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. So once you got into law enforcement, what was it like? I mean, initially.
So much fun.
I mean, let's talk about the jail first. I know
Okay.
that's got to be like an experience that you going in at age what, 18,
19.
19? Like, what the heck? You had never been arrested. No. Obviously, you wouldn't have gotten the job.
Nope.
So what was that like? Culture shock, maybe?
Kind of. The guys are really close there, so they definitely help you out through it. But it was definitely different because I was very outnumbered.
Okay.
So it was from where I was at. There was 96 of them and one of me.
Wow.
So that's just the way they were separated.
Is that the ratio?
Where they sleep 48 and 48.
Wow.
So
okay.
that's the ratio. So, but when they're out in the open, that doesn't count. It's just where they sleep.
Sure.
But it was definitely different. You had to learn who to talk to because you don't need to talk to all 96 people. You can talk to 2 or 3 and get everything done.
That's true.
Type deal.
Wow.
And so you just had to learn who to talk to and how they talk, and because if you don't, you're outnumbered and it could go bad.
No, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, in any industry, when you come in and you're the fresh meat, the new blood, the fish, so to speak.
And they know who it is.
Yeah, absolutely. You smell different.
Very much so.
But having, I guess, the influence and the backing of those around you to kind of help you through it. I mean, that's pretty cool. So now getting into 2 years later, you jumped into law enforcement as a police officer.
Correct.
What was that like? I mean, I envision it, what is it, like a frat house type situation? I mean, what is that like?
Almost, but I would jump back to the jail real quick. That helps you learn how to talk to people. So these guys, some of them are pretty bad dudes.
Sure.
So if you learn how to talk to them, and when you get on the road, most aren't that bad. So
Right.
when you get back on the road, you pretty much know how to talk to everybody.
Because
those guys are the top of their area. So if you can deal with them, you can deal with anybody.
That's a great analogy.
I would almost think that anybody that gets on the road as a police in general should have done something like that first, just to
Wow.
get their feet wet, I guess.
Maybe we should take a petition out and have that.
Well, that's mainly what the sheriff's offices do, all of them. They usually start in the jail and then they work their way out to patrol. And I could have stayed and done the same thing, but they say it's somewhere between 5 and 10 years to get on the road. I was at 2. I'm ready to go now, but it wasn't looking like it was coming anytime soon. So I wanted to go find out where I could go to get on there.
That makes perfect sense. No, it does.
The actual getting on the police force thing, it was I don't know, one of the happiest moments ever, just to get on there and know that I'm where I wanted to be.
That's awesome. I mean, setting out and accomplishing the goal, however big or small it is, when you accomplish your goal, it's a great feeling. Sometimes better than money, sometimes not, but at the same time, it is something gratifying that we as entrepreneurs, as people, get out of accomplishing a goal. So that's good stuff. So when you jumped into a police officer outside of the prison system, what was that like? And I would like to talk about first Was there any training required when you went through the jail piece as opposed to you're now on patrol servicing the community?
There was, the training for the jail was right around 3 months.
Okay.
And it was full-time, 3 months, and you get basically just a jailer certificate to do that. So to get the peace officer license to go and do police work on the street, it's a little bit longer. Mine was a year, and it took a whole year from January to December of 2007, I remember, and it took a whole year, and you had to get your license that way and take the state test. And everyone fears the state test, but it is what it is. Testing is testing.
So you're saying, and I want to make sure that it is very clear, you, after the jail piece, it took you 1 full year to get onto the force,
correct,
so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. And that entailed what? You doing ride-alongs? I mean, take me through that, because I honestly have no clue.
It goes through basically learning the laws, codes, everything.
Okay.
You got to learn all that. There's driving, and then there's interacting with people, and there's like tactics.
Sure.
That nature. And then basically you get into policies and procedures because every place is different. And so you got to learn how that place operates.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. Now, have you always worked at the same, what do they consider it, precinct or same county or?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
For the last 13 years, yes.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Thank you, by the way.
Oh, you're just very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do know that what you do is not easy. I do know that it is not a, I don't know. As you mentioned before, when you were younger, that's something that your parents, you saw that it looked up to them, all that good stuff. And police officer, firefighter, those types of jobs were and are the jobs that we as humans look up to, as you mentioned. And lately it's been a little different. It's been a little different, and we obviously know why. I want to talk about media just for a brief moment. Just what are your thoughts, without going too far, what are your thoughts on what you're seeing in the media?
It almost seems as if they only want to get what they want you to see. They don't really get the whole picture. So a lot of times on a 20-minute video, you might get a minute of it, and that's the bad minute.
Sure.
That's the minute that does not look good without the rest of it attached. And so it kind of seems like that's what gets the news, I guess. That's what makes the news get
ratings sell.
Ratings
Sell. I'm sure if you and I both, and this is just go as far-fetched as what I believe is happening right now, if we were sitting on this podcast with our shirts off, we'd probably get more views. Why? Because people are wondering what the heck they're going to do next, right?
That's true.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to go that far, but I think it can be related to that as an analogy, to the depth at which media is willing to go just to get the attention, the views.
And there's no repercussions for it being wrong.
So not these days.
There's no real loss. So we'll do what we do. If it's wrong, whoops, then we'll go to the next one, basically.
And when I turn on the news at night, I would say, 90% or so, the first part involves you guys.
The news needs us.
Right?
Yeah.
If not, what else would they talk about?
At least for the first 15 minutes, yeah.
That's true.
That's very true.
Now give me my weather. Because you're going to be wrong on that too.
It's like police, weather, and sports. That's what it is.
You know what? I have a funny thing, and I've said this before, but never on a podcast. So I believe weathermen should actually be paid commission.
Oh. Because they're wrong quite often too.
Yeah. If you're right, hey, pay the man. If you're wrong, what the heck, dude? But anyway, that's totally beside the point. Rabbit hole. So let's see here.
So I was also going to say about the looking up to the police and whatnot.
Yeah.
The best feeling in the world is on a break, going to get food or whatever the case may be, and you hear the little one. It's probably 3 or 4 years old, whatever. Look, and then they run up and like give you a hug on your leg or whatever. That is it. Like that's what we're there for.
Does that happen still? Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
It does. As a matter of fact, like last week.
That is so awesome.
Yes. Totally made my day.
And it does scare me, the perception that is being painted and what it's doing impactfully to our younger generation. moving forward? How are they going to view what they see? And parents, are we allowing them to see certain things and not? Or are we allowing them to see it and then explaining what they're watching? You know, I'm an advocate for kind of an unfiltered dialogue with my children. Kristen, my wife, same concept, but we also explain things. I know that they don't get everything at the age that they are, but if we can open up the conversation and dialogue to them earlier in life, they'll at least start connecting the dots faster than most.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's something that I have to, hats off to my parents. It was pretty non-filtered, good and bad. But it allowed us to be in those situations later in life and go, this is normal life. It's not a surprise to me, you know?
Very much so.
Back to law enforcement before we go into some entrepreneurial things and what you do and why you're on the show. I want to know, what was the most intense situation? And you can tell me a few if you have a few, but I'm sure you've got some stuff.
There's been a few.
13 years there, 15 years at the prison. I'm sorry, two years at the prison, 15 years total law enforcement.
2 years in the prison alone would write a book. But
I would read it. Matter of fact, you better have an Audible because I won't read.
I might just do that when I retire. We'll see.
There you go.
But as far as intense stuff, there's been everything from the chases to any kind of violent stuff is a little different. But one that sticks out for sure, and it made news pretty good. But there was this is a 6-month-old child that was left in a vehicle, and it was August. I think it was like August 6th or something around there. So it was hot, but left in the vehicle from 7 o'clock in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon, and I was on 2 to 10s at the time. So they found the baby at 3:30 when they got to the car.
Wow.
And it was not something anybody wants to see, but it was definitely eye-opening. And even in the car itself, my thermostat said 104, and I was waiting outside in my car. So I know it was hot out there.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And it's that, just thinking what that kid went through right before anything happened is kind of pretty rough. The kids make it a different ballgame.
Wow.
That's pretty much how that goes.
Absolutely. I mean, I can only imagine. And I think that situation made worldwide news.
It did.
I remember that. Wow. Goodness gracious. I mean, it's people, man.
I know.
Sometimes you can't fix what? Stupid.
Yeah.
You can't fix it.
I don't know how you forget your kids in the car. I'll never understand that, and never had that issue with mine, even close to it. But I guess it's there. It happens.
I mean, I think because of the type of show that this is, I can give my 2 cents. It's selfishness. I think it's selfishness 100% when those things happen. Because when you have a child, you basically sign up for selflessness. In most situations. And it doesn't mean you disregard your life and your goals and your things of that nature, but I think if you have too much going on at the time that you forget something like that, that is totally selfish, in my opinion.
I can see that.
Okay, so how about any other crazy situations? Have you ever had to, I don't know if it's okay to ask that, and you can tell me no. Have you ever had to pull your gun?
I have several times,
okay.
But thankfully I haven't had to use it.
Amen.
So
Amen.
They listened when they were told to.
And that being said, I mean, do you mind talking about maybe a situation that occurred?
Usually, I think one of them was stolen vehicles, the felony stops, and whatnot, getting them out of the car, gunpoint and everything. They have in their mind they can either come at me with their car, they can come out with whatever they've got. Giving up was the right choice.
Absolutely.
So that was usually how that was the majority of them was that way.
So that's a good transition into, we talked about training, getting onto the force. What about ongoing continuing education, tactical things of that nature that I will honestly say here today, without being political, anyone can use more training.
Absolutely.
Any profession, anyone in general. But if you're a police officer, yes, the notion that more training is necessary, well, that, again, blanket statement. More training is necessary in any profession. So what kind of training do you guys do throughout the course of your tenure?
there's continuing education's required.
Okay.
At least every year, and that there's minimums for that.
Sure.
And each officer has a different, I guess, level of their career. So basic, intermediate, advanced, and master.
Okay.
And so time and educational classes will step up.
Gotcha.
And usually for the basics, right when you come on and you're required everything. And if you don't get enough or you don't have enough time on, all those classes again are required.
Oh, wow.
Like the next time around. So
Okay.
it kind of motivates you to get done quicker and move up quicker. And then once you hit like advanced and master, it's mainly hours.
Okay.
And so there's no required classes. You can take whatever you want.
Gotcha.
As long as you get so many hours per cycle.
That makes sense. I mean, so let's compare it to maybe the belt system within karate. That each advancement you make is a different set of training and things that you should be able to handle.
Yes.
Essentially.
Correct.
Now, what is the training like as to a actual situation?
Completely different. So we'll go through the training. Totally, it makes sense, and everything they talk about would work if that was the case.
Sure.
But just doing it for as long as I have, remembering what I learned in the academy, I haven't used much from what I learned in there to actually doing it. So those are controlled environments. Out there is not, and it's a whole different ballgame.
And as crazy as this sounds, I can relate. How can I relate? Well, I'll tell you.
Please do.
So when I hire loan officers, things of that nature, the first thing I tell them is fantastic. Congratulations on passing your test to become a loan officer. Now forget everything that you learned because this is now the real world. Like real life situations occur that the book doesn't teach you. You're going to be dealing with customers, AKA patrons, right? I mean, same concept. The situations that you're thrown into, no, they're not life or death, but there's still somebody on the other line that is looking for answers, whatever the case. And you've got to react according to what you know in the book, but at the same time, what you're going through at the time.
Yeah.
So compared to, let's say the first, I'll call it the second, third, I don't know, big boy job that I had, which was finance manager at Toyota Bernie. That first day I asked, so do I go to training? What's the situation? They handed me a book, put me in the office and said, good luck. And that was the best training I ever had. It was hands-on, it was direct. There wasn't any time to learn, read, recite, all of this stuff. It was react. Customers right in front of you. Here you go. It's time to go. I don't know if that is the best analogy, but I can agree 100% that I don't care how much training you have, we are still human beings. We still have emotions, we still have reactions, we still have hesitations, all of these things are natural. And until we replace officers with robots, which we don't want that to happen, things could go wrong. Matter of fact, there's a new kids show on Netflix. I forget what it's called, but it's pretty awesome.
The robot one.
Have you seen it?
I saw the preview. We're going to watch it one of these.
It's pretty good. I get into the kid movies, man. Yeah.
You have to.
I love them.
But when you're talking about the reaction and getting right into it, we do FTO as well, field training. So as soon as we start, it's 2, 3, 4 months worth of that.
Sure.
And that's riding with different guys. And usually at the beginning, you're kind of learning and watching. And then once you get to like phase 2, phase 3, you're doing it.
Wow.
And he's mainly there to make sure you don't kill yourself or get someone hurt.
Yeah.
And then once you pass that, then you can go on your own kind of deal. But yeah, we get sometimes half a second to decide what we need to do. And courts get 2 years to figure out what they want to do about it.
That is so true. That is so true.
It's a mess.
Well, I want to convey, at least in light of Eric, that police officers are human. They're just like you and me. And I know the one sitting in front of me is a cool MFer. I've known him for many years, and he is a cool cat. Which is why I want to get into our next piece, which is your entrepreneurship, your business that you own, started yourself, which is Noble Landscape Services.
Correct.
Tell me about that. How did that begin? What was the driver of actually starting it? Let's start there.
A couple of things. Usually almost every single police officer that you know probably works 2 jobs or works part-times on top of their normal job. Obviously, the money's...
Why is that, Eric? Tell me why that is.
We love our job so much. That's what any additional income definitely helps, and it's almost like working overtime somewhere else, basically, because the pay is a little bit better. So we do that route. I did that for a while, about anywhere from 8 to 10 years. I was doing that.
Sure.
It kind of got old. I would go to work all day and then leave work to go do the same thing somewhere else, and doing it for 12 hours, 15 hours a day, late too, because usually it's at bars or venues or something that doesn't end until 2 or 3 in the morning. It was getting kind of old. So I was like, I want to do something else that could make the same kind of income, but not have to risk life every single time out there doing it. So
absolutely.
This one, I remember growing up in the church and all, and we would go and, mow yards and stuff for the elderly and things of that nature, that just being nice, doing it for the community, get the community service hours, whatever the case may be. And I never liked it back then. It was not really a thing I enjoyed. I did not like doing my own house. My dad would tell me to do it, and I was like, well, it's a ozone alert day. I can't do it. That kind of
every excuse under the sun.
Yeah, it didn't never really worked. I still ended up having to do it. So it was something I was good at. I didn't enjoy it. So then some YouTube came up, and I don't remember why it popped up, but I guess I was searching for a new lawnmower or something, and YouTube listens to you, so
it does. They know exactly what we're doing, and I'm not mad at that.
No, there's always.
I'm like, how did you know I wanted that?
It's always relevant. So I was like, all right, well, let me see what this video talks about, and it was a YouTube guy that does the landscape stuff, and he that happened to be an episode of his quoting certain jobs and how he does it and things like that, and it's like, no way. Is that really what that is worth these days? I was like, man. So I looked into it from then on, and once I started seeing that it was that good and there was that much available, like I don't even fight people anymore with my old guy I'd pay him this much. Go back to him then. I was like,
no big deal.
No, I was like, I know what I'm valued at, and there's plenty more out there. So
you said a very powerful word right there. Yes, value.
Yes. And I was like, I know what it's worth, and if you want to do it for less, go by all means.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you raised, and I want to come back to this, but you mentioned something that it triggered. I would go as far as to say that most police officers are entrepreneurial and don't even know it because of the pay that they're currently at and the need or want to make extra. And what he was talking about earlier, guys, is most officers tend to take off-duty security type jobs, 1099. They pay cash. And the reason for that is most venues, parties, any kind of sporting event, child's event, things of that nature, and there's so many out there, absolutely, they require you to have a official police officer on duty per the size of your crowd, so to speak. Am I correct on that?
That's absolutely, yep.
So in doing loans, I've done many loans for police officers, law enforcement. And I have noticed that on a lot of tax returns, which is they have the Schedule C income of 1099 for their extra. That makes perfect sense.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Okay.
And it's probably as much as their regular.
Yeah.
If not more.
We love you. I can't say that enough.
No, I know.
So in doing your landscaping business, what was it like? And I want, for those that are out there starting their first business, looking into venturing that, I think you can give them a pretty layman version of what it was like to start your business.
I had most people have everything they need already. If you have a house or you have a duplex that has property on it, whatever the case may be, you usually have a mower and some kind of weed eater and some kind of blower and a vehicle, and that's all you really need to start. So it doesn't have to be nothing special. They all do the same thing. And you can upgrade as you go because you'll realize they don't last as long.
Touche.
But they all do the same thing, and if you can learn how to do it right, then it will just happen. And so I just use my own personal lawnmower, my own personal weed eater, and my truck, and I would just go from house to house that would call. And over time, that neighbor told that neighbor, so that I would do both. And then those neighbors had a friend that needed it, and they told about it, so I'd go do that. And word of mouth just caught on real quick.
So you've been doing this for how long?
5 years.
5 years. So in your first year, in essence, was it, I've got the business account set up. I know what to do tax wise. I mean, what was that like?
That was a learning experience.
That's what I want to know.
That was a lot of YouTube.
Okay.
What that was. I know a lot of folks read books, and I could read, but it's just easier for me to listen.
I could read too, but I don't read well.
I won't last that long. And so I can listen to it on the way into work or wherever I'm. And what I started doing too is I just listen to podcasts and whatnot while I'm doing my lawns.
Okay.
So I had headphones in, but they're not music and all. It's actually encouraging stuff or knowledge, getting some knowledge and just learning that way, and got my business account and everything set up.
Now, did you have your business account set up before you had your first customer?
No.
Most don't. Mm-mm. Most don't. Matter of fact, some of the first businesses we opened, we didn't even have the bit. It was like, okay, is this even going to work?
And I say I have 5 years, but that's just how long my LLC has been here. So
okay.
I probably got into it about 6 to 8 months before that.
Okay, gotcha.
And then once I realized it's going, I was like, let's do it the right way.
Let's make it official.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I believe that most do tend to go that route of seeing if it's going to be something before they actually spend the money to open the LLC, to do the DBA underneath, all those things, to set up structure in your business model. And at that point, I mean, we then look at profit margins. We then look at scaling up, things of that nature. I mean, as you mentioned, you grew your business through word of mouth.
That's it.
Word of mouth. Did you use any social media, anything like that as well?
I have a Facebook page.
Okay.
But that mainly just shows my work on it.
Absolutely.
I don't really promote to do anything necessarily. Not very often. If I did, it was probably because I was feeling a tickle to do it. I don't know. But normally it's just, this was a project I was working on before, after, and whatever. And then same thing with some of these lawns I take care of, shows before and after and whatnot. So usually it's more just progress, not so much advertising.
That makes sense.
Mainly it's word of mouth. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. And why does that make sense? Because how did I find my lawn guy? I moved into the neighborhood and I saw the lawn guys taking care of the lawn next door, and I said, hey, you guys want to do mine? How much do you charge? Okay, sounds good.
That happens all the time. Yes.
And then they showed up the next week and did it again. And I saw a bill on my doorstep and went, this is perfect. I got a new lawn guy. That was that.
Easy as that.
That's right.
That's it.
So is there plans to grow it? I don't know if I want to get into that just yet. Well, I tell you what. In the beginning, you started with a few lawns. Okay. And as we are 6 years later, you're now up to, I believe you had mentioned 85 total contracts in addition to 3 commercial.
Correct.
That's a lot of extra work.
It is.
It's a lot of extra work.
Very much so. My schedule on a daily basis is, because the police job is 6 to 2.
Sure.
So I'm up at 5, go 6 to 2, get off at 2 o'clock. And this is where my customers are wonderful, but get off at 6 or 2 o'clock and start doing them. So usually I mow probably between 3 and 5 lawns after I get off.
Gotcha.
And so I'll knock those out. So I do as much in a week part-time as like a normal person on their house will do all summer.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So I'm pushing it. So yeah, somewhere between 15 or 20 and 30 lawns a week is about what it is on top of the other job.
Right.
And so I get home usually around 6:30, maybe 7. Dinner's usually, for the most part, ready. She loves me. So
that's awesome.
It works out, and I play with the kids for a few hour or two, and then bedtime for them, and I'm ready too. By that point, I'm done.
You're spent. Yeah,
Yes.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, and I try to get one day off a week. So if usually it's the days I'm off from the police job, I'll take one of those 2 and take it off as well.
Very good.
From the law stuff. So
Everybody
I
needs
do
a
work
little bit of
weekends.
break.
Yeah, and I don't get holidays and weekends off. So right now I have Tuesday, Wednesday. Horrible days. I know. It's the way it is. But Tuesday, Wednesday off. So usually Tuesday is my nothing day.
Gotcha.
That's kind of how that goes.
So when in doing, I guess, the lawn care service, it is you that's doing the work.
All of it.
Right? Mm-hmm. From start to finish, making the promises, all of that good stuff. And the next piece that I want to talk about is scaling up. When is the right time? And maybe I can help with this. When is the right time to scale up? How did you handle the scaling up of going from 0 to 85 plus 3? What was that like for you, especially since your time is limited?
Yes, and that's why the customers are being extremely great, because there'll be times I got court when I get off, or I'm at court all day, or I get a late call. I don't even get out until 3 or 4, and I have to move them or rearrange or do them on my day off instead. And they're always, okay, no problem. We'll wait for you, whatever the case may be. And they're wonderful. And it's very, very rare that they're like, well, we'll find someone else then, because that doesn't. I've had some that I've had for the whole 5 years.
That's awesome.
And then they're nothing but great to me. And
you know why though, right? You said it earlier.
because it's me.
It's a touche. Okay, touche. The value,
Of course.
the value that you
Yes.
add. I mean, there are people that I do business with that are more expensive. As a matter of fact, I was having this conversation yesterday with an individual who was getting my opinion on why I pay a little bit more for this type of service, which was ceramic coating of the car. I said, yeah, I could probably get it done cheaper somewhere else, but I know that this person is going to do a great job. There is no question as far as they're not going to do a great job. In addition to, if they mess something up, they're going to take ownership in it and fix it. I have no problem trusting somebody in that way and paying a little bit more for that value and knowing that. So that definitely speaks to you and what you provide as far as value to your customers. In growing that, what was that like, scaling up?
It came
to
quick.
where you are, yeah.
It came quick, and it took some adjusting, but it flowed. It went right into place, and somehow there'll be days where I'm like, I am booked until next week, whatever the case may be.
Sure.
And someone will be like, oh, well, I need you next week anyway. Perfect. Now I can just throw you
Boom.
in. And certain times, I'll be like, I'm short, and they'll say, well, we don't need it this week, just next week. Perfect. That makes that one fit. And
Right.
it all worked out. And the wife is completely 100% on my side for
That's
everything. And she's totally okay with it. And
She
helps
is your
me out.
biggest fan, by the way.
Very much so.
Isn't that awesome?
It is.
I have one as well that supports me in the crazy stuff that I do, and it's a good feeling.
It is.
Right there with you.
And I've had a couple of folks help me out on occasion. Sometimes I'll get a job that is going to take me alone a week.
Sure.
That's hard to do when I have all these to cover. That puts me a week behind, basically. So my father-in-law has helped me out a lot. And even another individual that he does lawns as well. He has his own business, but we met at Taco Bell when I was working in the police field.
Okay.
And I went to Taco Bell for lunch real quick, and he was in there. And we started talking, and now we're best buds.
Wait a minute. Wait. So you're saying you can approach police officers just to shoot the shit?
Yes, absolutely. Who would have thought? Right?
I don't know.
And we talk about the value stuff too. There's that. And there's also, once you make it a business, there's a lot of stuff that comes with it. So I heard this extremely great quote here.
Sure.
And I'll put it on here. But a lot of the people I'm not saying your listeners or anything, but most of them don't understand what's behind someone's business. And it just doesn't, they cut my yard. Okay, that makes sense. But it's also, there's a price that we set, and this one is on here, is I won't drop my gate on my trailer for less than a certain amount. And after operating expenses, taxes, business insurance, cost of commercial equipment, maintenance, workers' comp, payroll, unemployment tax, sales tax, workers' compensation, and office and billing expenses, like that's just starting it.
That's just opening the
Yes.
trailer.
And then there's not even gas and everything else. So yeah, that's just to unload. Because if you want to do it for less than that, by all means, I'll find another one. That's not a big deal. There's always grass coming up.
Absolutely.
But there's so much more to it.
People can always get the young kid down the street to do their yard. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
But no, he's not paying taxes on that money. Okay, I'm just telling you now, he's not paying taxes on that money.
Yep. And I'm always 100% for, if you want your kids down the street to do it, by all means, let them. They need to learn too.
Absolutely.
So I'm totally with that 100% as well.
So do you live and die by a calendar?
Pretty close to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be the only way to handle that amount of customers in addition to your 9 to 5.
The Google Calendar is pretty awesome.
Okay.
And so it's I try to get, like I said, 3 to 5 a day. So the wife just asks me every time I leave, well, how many you got today? How many you got today? It's not even, do you have any? It's how many you got today? So I'll let you know.
Makes perfect sense.
It's going to rain. Well, hopefully it's after 6.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that entrepreneurial spirit in you allowed you to take the risk to turn it into a business and continue the business and keep the business thriving. I mean, you could have absolutely been like, all right, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Time to pack it up, you know, at any time. What kept you in it?
Every time I finish one, just seeing it, I'm like, that, yeah. And then everyone that drives by is going to see the same thing. And I take care of everyone as if it was my own. So
Pride.
I'm not trying to just get it done and get the money and leave. Like I'll stay extra long to make sure I didn't do it wrong, or if it was extra tall, I got to cut it twice, whatever. That's fine.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is just an outlandish theory that I have. when you wash your car, when you finish cutting your grass, things of those nature, you get this kind of euphoric feeling of completion.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I would wonder if anyone has done a study on lawn care businesses, landscaping businesses, to see what the ratio is on what drives them. Definitely the money, of course. We gotta eat and all that good stuff. But what about it gives them that excitement? And for me, I remember back in the day when I'd cut my yard at the end.
Man, that looks good.
You look around, you go, I did that, right?
Yep.
Washing the car. I normally take my car to the car wash, but there are times when I wash it by hand, and Kristen will look out the window and go, "Oh, he's thinking about something."
Or take it to the car wash, bring it home, and then finish it.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But it's that gratifying feeling. You get that every single time.
Like 5 times a day.
Do you think that helps a little bit? I'm just wondering.
It's a huge help. Yes, it makes it wonderful, and I enjoy it every day. And everyone's like, my partners are going, that I work with, they're going to the gym afterwards. That's cool, and they always want me to go with them. I just go and I walk 8 miles, pushing 100 pounds. For 4 hours.
Absolutely. Wow.
And some of those guys, the full-time guys do more than me. So like I do almost enough cardio to last me.
That's so true.
Yeah. Cause I'll leave work with, I have my stepper here, but I'll leave work with 4,000 or 5,000 steps. I'll come home with 22.
Wow.
Or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
It does its part.
So you can't say you're out of shape.
No, hopefully not.
Nope.
Or it's keeping me normal.
Yeah. Dad bods. Yeah, man. That's awesome. Exactly. So with your business, where it's at currently, 85 customers and counting, 3 commercial contracts and counting. Mm-hmm. What's after law enforcement? I mean, you've got, I don't know how long left, but at some point you're going to retire. I know the entrepreneur in you is not going to, even if somebody said, here's a whole bunch of money for retirement, what are you going to do? You're not going to stop working. You just won't. You know, what are you going to do at that point?
This one, I've got somewhere around 6 years I have to do. We're kind of similar to military. Got to do at least 20. So that's at least my goal, is at least 20. So I got about 6 and some change left.
Okay.
If everything goes like I'm planning it on going, then I may end up just retiring and doing this full time, which even full time may not be 7 to 7, Monday through Friday. I might just, because I'm going to want to have more time with the babies and whatnot. So I've already done the math, and if I can retire in 6, I'll have one in 6th grade and one in 3rd.
Absolutely.
So I got plenty of time to watch them grow. So I'm going to take them to school, do the after school stuff, go to lunch with them when I want. So having this, by that time, I'll have my own schedule. And so if I need to start later, I can. If I need to start earlier to be done earlier, I can. And it would make my life a little easier. What
I would love to do at some point with you in the near future is talk to you about a game plan of scaling that business up. Mm-hmm. There's a book that I read that it was during COVID. Everything was going crazy. Loans, we had more than most. And I jumped back into kind of a survival mode, which was, okay, I've got to do it all myself, right? Which then bogged me down and delayed other things that I had on the table that I was supposed to do. And my coach, I told her this, and then essentially she recommended me to read Procrastinate on Purpose. And it taught me the focus funnel. The focus funnel, essentially all the things that you do to do what you do as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously the police force, this won't go hand in hand with, unless it can. But you throw everything through this focus funnel, and essentially anything that can be automated, you automate. Anything that can be delegated, you delegate. And anything that can be just completely eliminated, you get rid of. Mm-hmm. And then anything left after that focus funnel is what you take care of. So in dealing with scaling up of your business, you go, okay, do I need to be the one pushing the lawnmower? Well, it depends. I mean, depending on who I find that I can train, coach, mentor to show him to do what is up to par with what I believe is right. Absolutely. And I will tell you, that is the hardest part as a producing entrepreneur. You, I would consider a producing entrepreneur because you're the one that's doing the job to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So in dealing with that, it's hard for us to let go of anything.
Or trust someone to do it as good as us.
Absolutely. And as I progressed further in my career and entrepreneurs, different businesses, there's only so much time, period. There's just only so much time. And empowering folks, training folks, setting up certain checks and balances that now you oversee the things and then you correct or make adjustments, etc., is the future of what your future entails, so to speak. I see that being a possibility with your business, depending on how big you want to make it. I mean, at the end of the day, you're already at 85 yards by yourself.
This is true. Yeah.
So that could be something that you could actually start now and have it going while you become the face at law enforcement, finishing your rest of your 6 years, and you're just selling, making promises and making sure that they deliver on those promises. Now, yes, it's going to cost you because everything costs money in order to get somewhere else, risk and reward type situation. But leveraging is absolutely a trait that most don't understand. And our time is the thing that you have to leverage the most. Okay. Essentially, you want to be able to go out and be the face, sell the lawns to make up for the overhead that it costs to have the individuals now doing what you used to do. Make sense?
Makes sense, yeah.
So I'm very intrigued at the future, at what that can possibly be, if that's where you wanted to go, you know?
A lot of potential. But it's limited now due to the rest
time.
of the yeah.
Absolutely. So there are certain things that can be done. And I wanted to ask, what are you currently doing for your personal development, self-education, things of that nature? Because you, just like me, did not finish college. You got here. I know you're educated. Just because you don't have a college degree does not mean you're not educated, in my opinion. You're well-spoken, smart, all that good stuff. What do you currently do to stay sharp, so to speak?
I do a lot of watching on YouTube and listening to podcasts. That's pretty much my life.
Very millennial.
Yeah, exactly. Makes it easy for us.
Absolutely.
That's all it is. And so like we all talked about before, I'd rather listen to it than have to read it. So
I agree.
It comes in the same way, but I have way more time to listen than I do to stop and read.
I agree.
Listening, so I'm listening to doing lawns 4 hours a day. I'm listening to something. And during work, obviously I can't, but if I could, I would.
Right.
That kind of deal.
Well, for our listeners, what are some maybe YouTube channels or podcasts in general that you've listened to that have either motivated you, helped you in a situation, anything like that?
I don't have anyone in particular.
No?
They're usually, YouTube throws them up, and I couldn't even tell you the names of them.
How about this? What are you searching for?
Usually it's I guess business growth or kind of like the mindset of entrepreneur type thing.
Sure. So it definitely, you yearn for that knowledge.
Yes. Very much so.
Okay.
Very much so.
That makes perfect sense.
I know.
So to sum it all up, now, obviously, family is a huge deal for you. It is for me as well, and you had mentioned it once a bit ago. When you get home after a long day, let's say you've had a bad day, what is that like?
They wouldn't.
I mean, I say that because you can't always have good days as a police officer. No. I don't have good days as a loan officer, branch manager, entrepreneur. I don't always have good days, but I do need to change my attitude and whatnot. But what is that like?
I was gonna say, if I had a bad day, they wouldn't know about it, or they wouldn't be able to tell. Basically, the incident I told you about with the child in the car and all, on that particular day,
sure,
I already knew where that was going to go as far as news and whatnot. So I called the wife up and told her, just so you know,
in advance.
Yeah, because I don't want to talk about it later. So she knew when I was there, and it came up, of course. So that was pretty much the end of that. So things of that, if there's something like that happens, I'll give her a heads up while I'm at work, basically.
Sure.
So that way, when I get home, we ain't got to worry about it.
Gotcha.
Because I'm already in the environment. We can talk about it now, or just sum it up, whatever the case may be. But once I get home, it's home time.
I gotcha.
And she always wonders why I'm always in such a good mood, or how I'm always all happy and
that's what I want to know, because at the end of the day, we're very similar in that aspect. I've never seen you upset. I've never seen you in a bad mood. And I would go as far as to say that it's probably the same backwards. I know what I do and have to continue to do. What do you do? How do you keep a good presence about you? How do you stay in your good mood?
I don't.
Got your happy pants on.
I always have I don't know. And even other officers that I talk to, they're like, you've been here 15, why are you like that 15 years in? Most of them are like, I'm going to go home or whatever the case,
Sure.
But I'm happy to be there. I enjoy it and come home and I'm happy to see them. So I don't, when you say put it away, sometimes it don't come back. I don't know. Sometimes I can put it away and it doesn't return, that type deal. Hopefully it never does, but it's great. And I just go home and I'm totally different. Sometimes the kids will drive me nuts. What kid doesn't?
What kid doesn't? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
And I guess the wife thinks I have more patience than anyone she's ever met.
Did you tell her you're not a doctor?
It's one of those, I get home and she's had the kids all day. And that was also to take back that way. But getting the other job too, once the babies come, daycare is expensive.
Yeah.
And it's one of the, I'm not trying, we weren't trying to do that or work to do that. Mm-hmm. So we tried to make it work to where she could be home with the babies. And I can work whatever for however long we need to until they get to school.
And that's huge. Yeah. That's huge.
We haven't used daycare one time.
So the fact that you have done what you've needed to do to afford a life for your wife. Wow, I'm rhyming like crazy right now.
I know. Poet didn't know.
Right? That your wife is able to spend time with the kids, educate the kids, truly get that culture of what you're providing in your household. I mean, hats off to you.
Well, thank you.
Most can't do that. Most won't do that. Most will settle for, okay, I'm going to work, she's going to work, and then we're going to pay daycare, like you said, which in all honesty, it's probably like a wash sometimes.
And not to sound bad about all of them, because I'm sure some are great, but
sure.
It's an 18-year-old babysitting. It's pretty much what it is. You're going to drop them off at 6 in the morning until 6 at night. You get 3 hours a day with your kid.
That's exactly right.
That's crazy.
We did daycare for, I want to say it was like a month.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, we're going to make this work. We're going to keep you home for a little while. And Kristen did stay home for, I think it was 3 years, 3-4 years, something like that. And then after that, she was like, okay, I'm done. I've got to get back in the thick of things. I've got to have adult conversations. Yep. And I think
the wife has about one more to go because the 3-year-old, once he goes to school, she's like, I'm out.
I need my sanity.
Yep. She's on 6 years now or so, 5 or 6 years. She's ready to be done.
I believe it. So let's see. I think we've discussed everything we've needed to. Is there anything that you want to discuss or enlighten us about, either law enforcement side of things or the entrepreneurial business thing? I mean, let me ask you this. What are you doing with your money? I know that law enforcement, are you guys in a retirement category to where you have 401k? Is it like a teacher to where it is a TRS? Is it it's
a pension.
Okay, very good.
So I could have done my own 401k. I probably should have thought about that 15 years ago when I started, and I didn't. So I've done some research, or I'm still doing research and looking into either like IRAs, stuff like that, things like that, to put it in to where it can kind of grow a little quicker, but still be enough to kind of live off of when I'm ready to.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
And so I'll have a retirement at 20 if I retire at 20, but that wouldn't be enough to live off of. It would just be more of supplemental.
Yeah.
And that where this would take over, or the wife working would take over, that kind of deal. And so hopefully by the time it's time, then we'll be more than set.
And I think you had asked earlier, we were talking about it before off camera, you wanted to start dabbling into stocks, things of that nature. Have you attempted to put any money in there yet?
No, I'm still a little shaky on it. I want to learn. I'm listening to a lot of podcasts on that too. Podcasts and YouTube.
And what are the podcasts telling you?
Well, most of them are telling you to put it in and leave it.
That was going to be my advice.
Don't play with it. Just do it. Let it do its thing, even if it looks bad.
That was going to be my advice. Matter of fact, for those of you that are wondering, I do play around with the stock market, but I do not day trade or anything close to day trading.
That wasn't a thought of mine. No.
Yeah, for me, I'm not looking at stocks as retirement. I'm more of a let's use my money now to grow it now, pay taxes on it, all that good stuff. But I will play the market as if I was in Las Vegas, if that makes sense, to where I only put what I can lose in there.
Of course.
Literally, if I dropped it on the ground, now nobody wants to drop money on the ground, but that's also the euphoric feeling that you get when you win, okay? So I use things like, for example, I own Tesla stock. I have 5 shares, bought it well before the split, and it did fantastic. Bitcoin, I got into a while back and slowly I've never taken any money out of it. I've just slowly bought more Bitcoin. And Roku, I bought Roku individually before they announced that Roku was then going to be in all of the TVs now moving forward. That was a good one. And I'm playing around with this Dogecoin. Dogecoin. I'm an Elon Musk fan. I mean, all the way. So,
because the stuff I was looking at too was more of a dividend type deal.
Absolutely.
And so that's the stuff I'm gonna get into when it's time, and that way it'll just keep paying me. So that way when the time does come, I can take it and not have to take it out and still get it.
Absolutely. Now there is, I just recently, and this is sad that I just recently found this out, but as an entrepreneur and self-employed, you actually have the ability to jump into a 401k that is similar to an employer 401k. Do some research on that. Okay. Definitely, if you're going the stock route, go for blue chippers that are paying dividends.
Of course.
Not necessarily have to be super expensive, things of that nature, but you slowly are putting money into it because you're not worried about it until later in life. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter.
Hopefully by then it'll be good to go.
Hopefully. You never know.
I know.
You never know. I mean, with all the technology and as fast as it's going these days, I mean, they're saying that we should be able to communicate with each other soon without even talking.
Wow.
That blows my mind.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I'm not. And then what the heck would I talk about?
That's
just
true.
kidding. I'm
That's
kidding.
True.
Okay, so we've talked about law enforcement. We've talked about your tenureship, the training that you've gone through, the continuing training that you guys go through, what it's like to be in law enforcement these days. The gratification that you get to know that people are still out there absolutely respect you guys and look up to you guys. I'm one of them. And no, I'm not just saying that just in case I get pulled over. That would be, gosh. And matter of fact, I probably get pulled over more than anybody I know, just so you know. Just so you know. We've talked about your business that you started 6 years ago. And how you've grown that business. And that is a business that has grown through word of mouth, and simply not scaling up is not a choice that you're not wanting to make. It's just you're limited on time. For now. And I like that answer, for now. I'd like to get with you later down the road so that you possibly can put some stuff into place that will start that for now sooner.
Okay. Yeah.
By you being there. And I mean, I've given advice to you on mortgages, things of that nature before in the past. So I'd never steer you wrong. I've talked about family, and I think that is the root of everything that we do is the family. And the fact that you risk yourself every day, in addition to doing whatever it takes to give you and afford the life that your family has, is what makes you you, man. And hats off to you. I respect you always. Is there anything else that you want to tell our viewers?
Just next time you see an officer, just tell them hi. Makes their day. They don't even know.
You have no idea. I don't want to go too far further into that, but you're exactly right. You guys deserve the respect.
Thank you.
It's not an easy thing that you guys do. And I really appreciate you. I know that the viewers, the listeners are on the same page as us. I really do, because I believe the entrepreneurs of the world are the ones that are changing the world. I believe that if you want to complain, I'll say it. If you want to complain, go put on a uniform. Okay? Go put on a uniform, because I'm not willing to. And for the time being, my trust, faith, and my family's trust and faith is with Eric and the rest of law enforcement here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.